Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us. Today we're back with author, speaker, and freelance travel writer, Caitlyn Lubas. Hey, Caitlyn, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, we're happy to have you back. And today I want to talk about public accountability partners and publishing pathways with you. So, Caitlin, how important is it to have an accountability partner or a writing community to work on a book?
I would say accountability partners are the number one reason I actually finished my book. Like, you probably might find the idea of writing a book daunting, but once you're actually in the middle of it, that doesn't go away. I think the hesitations and the self-doubt are always going to be there. So for me, the main reason I did not give up on writing my book was because on day one of writing the first chapter of my book, I actually posted very publicly saying, I'm writing a book, it's going to come out next year. And once that was out there in the world, that basically having everyone I know as my accountability partner was a really powerful tool to make me actually finish writing it and not just give up in the middle. Because I think if you operate in silence, it's very easy to just think, oh, well, no one really cares anyway. Like, I can just quit, I can stop right now. But if you actually put it out there and make your dreams vocalized to the world, then it gives you a little bit of extra pressure that you can't just silently give up because people are going to ask you about it. People are going to be expecting some sort of outcome. And although you should be self-motivated, I don't think it ever hurts to have a little bit of that public accountability as well.
Right, right. Now, could you share some of those programs, networks, or mentorship groups that had helped you stay on track to write your book?
Yeah, so beyond me just posting about it and keeping myself accountable with like a public accountability partner, I also had been part of basically a first-time author cohort program. It was run by a professor at Georgetown named Eric Koester, and he still runs the program. I think you can find it online with looking up Creator Institute or Manuscripts. That's the overall brand of his kind of author coaching programs. And that was where I met a lot of other first-time authors that also gave me a confidence boost of, okay, this is a really hard thing to sit down and write a book and take it from idea to manuscript to publication, but I'm not in this alone. I have a lot of friends now who are first-time authors as well. We're all going through the same process at the same time and having the same struggles, having the same hesitations. So just having a support group like that was something that really helped with the emotional side of actually getting through each step of the way without giving up, as well as the public accountability partners of, I don't want to let everyone down. I've already said I'm going to do this, so I have to keep my word and I will actually do it.
That's a great way. It really is because you just get so wrapped up in all the other things you've got, and then you struggle with imposter syndrome. And there's just various factors that can kind of derail an author, especially when that's not your only business, source of income, etc. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the publishing process with you. What factors should an aspiring author consider when choosing between traditional, hybrid, or self-publishing?
The way that I see it is traditional publishing, you're giving up a lot because you're trying to get some moonshot bestseller. It's almost like when a venture capital firm invests in a company, is the same way a publisher is investing in you as an author. And therefore, you're giving up a little bit of your creative freedom, your ownership, so that you can kind of take it to the highest bit of success possible. For me, that was not the focus when I went on this author journey. I really wanted to publish a book about my own life as a memoir. So I wanted to retain that creative freedom and retain all the rights to my work so I could do whatever I wanted to do with it in the future. So I ended up going away from traditional publishing for those reasons of I didn't want to give up ownership, I did not want to give up creative freedom, and also I particularly was interested in getting a book out in kind of a quick timeline. Like I wanted to publish a book when I was 23. I didn't want to push that out any further because I was specifically writing about why it's important to travel when you're young. So I felt like that message would pack more of a punch coming from as young of a person as possible. So I knew that traditional publishing has a very long lead time because obviously whenever you're working in a larger organization, there's more checks, there's more processes, there's just more people involved in the process, so it drags it out into sometimes a 2-year timeline. And that was not what I wanted for my book. So I looked away from traditional publishing. And on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, there's self-publishing, where you just have your file of your book, you upload it to Amazon, it's out there in the world. And there's nothing wrong with that, but unless you are a super multi-talented person, you're probably going to have to outsource some of the work anyway, whether it's to get an editor, a cover designer, someone to like typeset your book and put it in the right format. So I knew that I was going to have to find all of those type of freelancers anyway. So for me, instead of taking that all upon myself to find those people by going through a self-publishing route, I actually really liked this middle ground of hybrid publishing, which meant that I could approach a publisher who has all of those people on staff, has an editor, has a cover designer, someone who can help me with the ISBN number and the marketing and like designing an Amazon description. Those people were all part of this publishing company's actual long-term staff instead of me hiring a bunch of freelancers or doing a ton of research on my own online. So I felt like that was a great middle ground where I got to retain 100% of my rights, got to decide on the timeline, and ultimately keep my creative freedom in the work, but also have some help from a team that was dedicated to my book's specific success instead of being spread across a bunch of different people. So I would recommend hybrid publishing as a nice middle ground where you can get the book out the door in the way that you imagine it to be, but you also have a team that is helping you and you're not just going through the whole thing alone. I had a great experience with hybrid publishing.
Wow, that's great. I have not heard any bad things about hybrid publishing. So
Yeah.
it's great that you had another wonderful experience with them. And it is really important, like you said, when you're new to the industry, that they give you those resources. And you don't have anybody that, is just kind of trying to take your money and they're not really going to help you publish your book or get it out there in the market. Now, how can first-time authors build, in your opinion, credibility and authority if they do self-publish compared to more traditional publishing? Perhaps hybrid publishing is the answer.
Yeah, I would say that to build credibility with a brand new audience, it helps to have some sort of publisher on the book name. And obviously, some people know the names of big publishers like Penguin, Random House, but there are so many publishing houses in the world that may be of the more traditional variety that people also don't know the name of. So it almost makes no difference to go with a traditional publisher that is quite small versus a hybrid publisher that also people haven't heard of. But just because my book also has an imprint saying published by XYZ, most people don't know the difference between a traditional, a hybrid, or even if you published it yourself but made up a publisher name to just kind of have that on your self-published book. I think any sort of publisher of like a third party stamp of approval does sort of give your book a little bit more credibility in the eyes of a random reader who might not have a lot of context on the publishing industry as a whole. I would also say it's really important to actually have quotes and kind of reviews or bylines by someone else other than yourself on your book, on your Amazon page. So that helps establish credibility and just a sort of reputable source as well.
Well, Caitlin, thank you so much. That was wonderful insight on public accountability partners as well as publishing pathways.
Thank you. I'm glad to share the advice and hopefully it helps some other people going on the publishing journey themselves.
That's all the time we have for today. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to today's interview with author, speaker, and freelance travel writer, Caitlyn Lubas. Be sure to check out our website for more videos. Wishing you all a fulfilling and successful writing journey.